So when Eva retired, I mean, she was someone whom many of the superintendents knew of her commitment to youth. And at that time, the board was beginning to hire outreach workers. And she was hired as an outreach worker to work with high school students. And she worked out of Vanier, which is in the Peanut Plaza area. And I guess here she came face to face with young people in high school who were having difficulties because might have been lack of support at home, or they were being turned out of their home. And so she was the one who worked with them, would advocate for them. And I think it was out of that she realized that some of these students were kind of hop, skipping, and jumping to find a place to sleep at night. And so the whole business then of homelessness for these high school students, she saw firsthand.
A lot of young people who were not Jamaican in origin, but all these black kids met together in schools here, and they were experiencing the same kind of problem. And they found leadership for Eva. She was here with those kids, and those kids loved her, and she loved them.
Her mission was to make sure that none of these children fell through the cracks, and that we as a community had a responsibility to help them, to nurture them, to provide openings for them. Her focus primarily was Black youth. That was her focus. That's what she wanted. That's where she saw the need. You know, it moved from one thing to the other as she saw the need and realized that these children weren't going to do well in school if they didn't have a stable home life, if there was nowhere they could go home and get help and do homework, if they were not eating well. You had to look at the whole child.
One of the things I mentioned, and Eva was very cognizant of this, the thing I mentioned was that unlike most people, most immigrants who come to Canada, people from the Caribbean, especially Jamaica, does not move as a family. And to come up as a domestic and you're working, let's pull a figure out of that, $100 a week. And to a lot of Caribbean people, $100 Canadian or US can go quite a long way. So they leave their kids with their grandparents or their aunts or their friends in Jamaica because we're going to send for the boys and the girls next year. Next year turn into 2 years, 3 years, the kids down there are growing. Mom found a boyfriend, start a new family. 5 years later, or 4 years later, she's able to take up the oldest girl. They come and they meet a new family. Some of these parents did not know how to handle the situation, how to fuse the two families together. And, you know, all hell breaks loose sometimes. It's a widespread situation. And I've known of people, I've taught kids in summer school and things like that, who were in foster parents' home. And Eva was very, very upset about that because a lot of them were in foster parents' home. A lot. Prior to her death, I say about 2 or 3 days, my wife and myself visited her in the hospital. And she always called me Conville. And she said, Conville, you know about the center that I'm getting built for young people? She said, you guys must make certain that you get on the board of this thing. I'm not going to be around, because she was certain that she was going. She said, but make certain you as black people get on the board. And she said, you Conville, I want to make certain you go on the board. Unfortunately, I couldn't take it that way because I was my yin yang, as they say, in work. You know, I need more than 24 hours in the day. But she begged, she said, make certain that you people go on the board, because if you don't go on the board, it will be lost to the black community.
She wouldn't take no for an answer. She would find ways to make things happen. And she was committed, and she gave of her all. She was a phenomenal human being. Phenomenal.